Joe Biden's approval ratings continue to drop, everybody, so Congress must address funding to avoid a government shutdown in December. And a few more state governors have decided this month to offer stimulus relief money. This is all the fourth stimulus check news that you have to know, so be sure to stay until the end of this video to find out the latest news about the fourth stimulus payments. Be sure to stay until the end of this video, folks. Now, Congress is facing a legislative pileup as it barrels toward the end of the year with a lengthy to-do list.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much to everyone who made today possible. I especially want to acknowledge President Biden for the glorious vision and the great commitment that he had to bring this legislation forward for the people. It is a great achievement. Thank you, Mr. President. When our nation was experiencing the depths of pandemic and economic crisis, you knew, Mr. President, that we needed not only to recover, but we had to seize the opportunity to build back better. Following your vision, Congress passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, an historic step to rebuild the infrastructure and the middle class. Your agenda is historic, transformative, and the biggest, boldest investment in our country's history. I just want to talk about the history for a moment. The very first major infrastructure investment was President Thomas Jefferson's. He tasked the Secretary of Treasury, Gallatin, for the Gallatin Project to build the infrastructure to reach into our ever-growing nation, resulting in the Erie Canal, the Cumberland Road in Maryland, and other initiatives. Then, under President Lincoln and through legislation from Congress, America launched the Transcontinental Railroad, connecting the country from coast to coast. On the 100th anniversary of the Gallatin Project, President Theodore Roosevelt established the National Park Service to preserve God's beautiful natural patrimony of our country. And then President Eisenhower, years later, established the Interstate Highway System, initially a national security initiative, but significantly connecting America for commerce and communities. And today, Mr. President, with the stroke of your pen, we will take a giant step to achieve your vision to build America's roads, bridges, water systems, and so much more, creating good-paying union jobs, ensuring clean air and clean water, delivering better quality of life with equity, helping businesses thrive, and turbocharging our global competitiveness, connecting communities, again, through the internet, and making America safer as we protect our planet. And we do so building back better. This historic achievement was possible thanks to so many who have been acknowledged already, honors granted to all of them, to our chairs, members, and staff, who have in every step brought a depth of knowledge, commitment, and values-based leadership that is making a difference. Especially I salute in the House Transportation Infrastructure Chair, Peter DeFazio, a maestro of all things related to infrastructure and sustainability. I do want to acknowledge Mr. Clyburn, who was taking great pride, I think almost blushing, when our guest from the Carolinas was talking about broadband especially, but among other things. Thank you, Mr. Clyburn, for your leadership and all of that. May I just say and associate myself with the closing remarks of Mr. Schumer. This is a great accomplishment, and there's more to come. And so happy that hopefully this week we will be passing the Build Back Better to give tax cuts to America's working families, to create millions more jobs, to lower health care costs, and all of it paid for by making everyone pay his or her own fair share. I'll close by saying last week in Glasgow at the COP26, members were met with great enthusiasm over the Build Back Better agenda, which is a show of force to the world. As the president has said, America is back.
The House and Senate return today and are scheduled to be in session. Democrats want to deliver big wins by the end of President Biden's first year, but they first have to juggle their party's political ambitions with must-pass bills. So Chuck Schumer also warned of a grueling end-of-year schedule. In a letter to Senate Democrats on Sunday, he noted it would take some long nights and weekends to get the job done. What are your thoughts on Chuck Schumer, everybody, and his work on the fourth stimulus check? Do you believe that he's doing all that it takes to send out the fourth stimulus payments? Or do you believe that he's holding the stimulus checks back and that he should do a better job in helping out the American people? Tell me what you think, everybody, in the comments below. House Democrats had hoped to pass the bill before the Veterans Day recess. Instead, helped by 13 Republicans, they passed the Senate's bipartisan infrastructure bill and punted the social spending bill to try to assure moderates who wanted to see a Congressional Budget Office analysis of the bill. So as part of that agreement, 5 moderate House Democrats put out a joint statement vowing to support the Build Back Better legislation in its current form, other than make technical changes, as soon as they receive fiscal information that lines up with their framework deal, but in no event later than the week of November 15th. So the House has the bill on its schedule for the week, but the Senate's consideration of the bill is likely to slip until after Thanksgiving. So as part of that agreement, 5 moderate House Democrats put out a joint statement vowing to support the Build Back Better legislation. The House has the bill on its schedule this week, but the Senate's consideration of the bill is likely to slip until after Thanksgiving. Schumer, in a letter to the Democratic caucus, said that he was already having talks with a parliamentarian about whether the bill compiled with reconciliation rules and a budget resolution approved early this year. The Senate Democrats will also start having talks with the House this week about whether it meets the Byrd Rule. Government funding is another item on Congress's to-do list. And so government funding is another item on Congress's to-do list. Lawmakers have a matter of days to come up with an agreement to fund the government and avoid an early December shutdown. Congress previously passed a short-term bill to try to keep the government open through December 3rd, and it's expected to need to go through another continuing resolution, which funds the government at current levels to keep the lights on. The White House is trying to build pressure on lawmakers to reach a deal on fiscal 2022 funding, which would include new funding levels and priorities, and avoid a funding patch, a tall lift given the current state of talks. Democrats have not yet put forward a continuing resolution proposal of their own, but lawmakers in the past have used the short-term funding bills through late February or early March as a way to buy themselves more time. Now, Congress passed a short-term debt hike earlier this year that congressional aides both agreed upon, but senators in both parties believe they have more time to pass another increase in the debt ceiling, with Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin describing it as a December problem. The bipartisan policy center has estimated that Congress will need to act soon, as mid-December or as late February. Democrats have not yet said how they will raise the debt ceiling. Republicans faced fierce backlash from their own caucus after they helped break a filibuster on the short-term debt extension, after months of vowing that they would go and make Democrats go it alone. In recent days, millions of Americans have applied for a fourth stimulus check. And due to the situation suffered by millions of Americans, different states have decided to provide cash for residents to alleviate their financial problems. Since late August, California's second round of stimulus has been underway. The next batch of payments is scheduled for this Monday, November 15th, with the expectation that the number of checks will be similar to what they went out to the last group and to the last group. Now, if you guys have any more questions about the fourth stimulus check, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I truly appreciate it.